Talking Shirts is presented in partnership with White Oak Cottage. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Hello and welcome to episode 90 of Talking Shirts. I'm Mike from Hull KR Shirts, and today we're going to take a look at the silk cut plate final shirt that was worn at Wembley in 1997. So the Challenge Cup plate was something that was played as a bit of a curtain raiser for the main event, the Challenge Cup final, during the 90s. And this was obviously a competition that featured the Robins. During the 1997 season, they were successful in an attempt to reach Wembley, and they got there. Not only did they get there, but they won. They beat Hunslet Hawks 60 points to 14 with various different try scorers. I think we ended up scoring sort of 11 tries that day. So, you know, really sort of special occasion for the Robins. And this shirt here was actually worn by one of those try scorers. Now, if you was asked if you could pick a shirt that was worn in a major final, in this one I would have probably picked the shirt that was worn by Stanley Jean, most notably because he did score a hat-trick that day. However, this one was worn by his halfback partner, Gary Atkins. So we'll talk a little bit about the shirt because there's quite a lot to talk about in terms of this shirt. Most notably, you'll notice how big it is. Back in the 90s, match worn shirts was massive. I think this would fit me, and I'm a big lad. So I'm quite pleased about that. Especially, you know, with the modern day player spec shirts, I'm getting absolutely nowhere near them. But this one I'm fairly confident would even fit me. So as you can see, we have got the old school turnover collar. Now this one here is not stitched down like we have seen sort of later in the years. Now some players actually would wear this completely turned inside out. So it actually negated the fact that it had a collar. That was probably so that other players couldn't grab it. It's then got a 3-button placket which comes down here, and we've got a button at the top, and then we've got 2 which are hidden inside these little pockets here. We have then got a square down here which is the reinforced stitching. So if at any point the placket did rip down here, the idea is that this stitching would then stop it from ripping deeper into the fabric of the shirt, making it much easier to repair. 1997, along with 1996, because this shirt was also used during that 1996 season, was the only time that the club had shirts that was manufactured by Le Sportif. They produced the home and the away shirts for 1996, which then obviously carried over into 1997 as well. We have got the Hull Kingston Rovers club crest, which has been really enlarged on this shirt. It's so big compared to some of the shirts, but it just looks so beautiful, so I'm not going to complain about it. We have then got silk cut plate final Wembley 1997. That has been embroidered into the shirt. And then we have also got here 4 Seasons Health and Fitness Club, and that has actually been dye sublimated into the shirt. Now where this becomes like really interesting is you might notice here there's a felt patch. Now you might not see it properly, but I'll put some photos up where you can see the angle. Now, here is where you would expect to see the waist-wise green tick. So, during the 1996 season, we had waist-wise across the front of here. We also had stamps, electrical, and also we had Hudgell solicitors. I wonder what happened to that guy, by the way. Anyway, the shirt actually has the green tick applied underneath. Now, I know that because if I turn it inside out, I can see it. And they've now applied this felt patch over the top of that to hide it. So when this shirt has gone into manufacturing, they've obviously known to put 4 Seasons on the front instead of waist-wise, or instead of nothing, let's just say it was plain. They've obviously left the green tick there. They've also left the green tick on the sleeve as well. So there is a green tick felt patch here, and you can actually see through that from this side. I'll put some pictures up of this when we get around to talking about the sleeve, because you'll see it quite clearly. That makes me think that whoever actioned the shirt to be put into production for this final thought the green tick was part of the shirt design and not part of the manufacturer sponsorship that was on the front of the shirt, and then obviously with the waist-wise underneath. I will pop some pictures up for you so you can see the waist-wise with the green tick underneath. But I find that really interesting because obviously there's no need for that green tick to be there. So there's obviously been an error made at some point. Now, who that was by and why, obviously, we'll probably never know. But it's just a really interesting observation that I picked up as I was studying this shirt. You may notice that we have got the HKR sort of anniversary branding word mark, which appears kind of sublimated all throughout the shirt. This is something where I feel like it's a really subtle detail, but it's something that makes quite a bit of difference to the design of the shirt, especially when you pick it out with the naked eye. The red kind of finishes, and then we have this white band which sort of goes from up the cup, up on the top where the collar is, down to the under armpit, and then it then kind of forms into a navy sleeve. We then have this kind of chevron-y style design that continues all the way around the sleeve, and we have the Rugby League 13 branding, which appears quite strongly. I'll pop some pictures up so you can see that. I absolutely love this logo. Nothing says 1990s Rugby League to me more than this picture. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we have got the felt mark here, which goes over the waistwise tick, which also featured on the sleeves during that 1997 season. Obviously, got the 2000s on my mind. Okay, so before we turn it around and have a little bit of look at the back of the shirt and we talk about Gary Atkins, here is a quick word from our sponsor.
White Oak Cottage is a 2-bedroom luxury holiday cottage set in the stunning Lincolnshire Wolds. It has 2 ensuite bedrooms, a hot tub, wood burner, Wi-Fi, electric vehicle charger, and is pet friendly. It is ideally situated in the Wolds, yet only 15 miles from the coast and 25 miles from the historic city of Lincoln. For more information, visit whiteoakcottage.co.uk.
Welcome back to episode 90 of Talking Shirts. Before the break, we was taking a look at Gary Atkins' 1997 silk cut plate final shirt, and we're back now with the back. So as you can see here, the back of the shirt's got the same design that features across the front of the shirt. We've got the HKR word mark being dye sublimated into lots of elements of the red shirt, and we've also got Rovers, which has been dye sublimated into the shirt as well. Now, back in the day, in the 90s, the club didn't have specific squad numbers for specific players. So we have seen Rovers, we've seen Robins, we've seen various renditions of things appear across the back of a shirt. And I, for one, absolutely love that. Big fan, big fan. As you can see here, we've got the number 6. This has been heat applied onto the back of the shirt, and this was the squad number that Gary Atkins wore for that 1997 Cup final at Wembley. Now, I have actually been able to photo match this, which is quite a surprise really, because shirts from the 90s, there's not actually that many photographs for me to go on, but I did actually find a couple of Gary wearing this shirt during that game, so I'll pop some pictures up for you just so you can kind of see the positioning of this number 6 and the contact points underneath the O and underneath the E here are things that really help me sort of identify that this shirt was actually the one that was worn at Wembley Stadium. Now, back in this time, I don't actually know if there'd have been more than one shirt prepped for a game. Obviously, the club was going through some quite difficult financial struggles, and if it wasn't for Edward Klemper, who would know if we'd have even played at Wembley, or even if we would have a club to this day. So, you know, rest in peace, Edward. Everything you've done for Hull KR, the fan base will be eternally grateful. Back to the shirt. Gary Atkins, he scored 2 tries in this game, which for me is, is brilliant. If you're going to pick up a match-worn shirt that was worn in a major final and somebody scored a try in it, in fact it wasn't 1, it was 2, what even better. Obviously, it was a fixture that the club went on to win and would get some form of silverware. Granted, it's not classed as a major trophy in terms of it being, the tippy top of the rugby league sort of pyramid in terms of successes, but it was still a success all the same. Gary would go on to make 119 appearances for Hull KR between 1994 and 1998, and in that time he did score 79 tries. So he was somebody who had a little bit of longevity at the club, probably featuring in nearly every game that he could during his stay with the Robins, and it's a really good shirt for me to add within my collection. You might not be able to see it too well, but there's quite a lot of holes in this shirt. Now, the reason for that is because I'm led to believe that all of these shirts was framed after the final. They were signed on a little sort of sticker that was then stuck to each frame, and then it was auctioned off. I was fortunate enough when I found the shirt, it was still framed. I think I've got a picture of it framed actually. I'll pop it up so you can see it if I have. If I haven't, I apologise. But yeah, I think I've got one for you to be able to have a look at. I was brave and I decided to take the shirt out of the frame. Now, you should have seen the size of the staples that came out. They weren't just normal staples. They were, you know, when you buy like an electrical appliance and you have a box and they have them big staples in that are quite sharp. Well, those was the style of staples which had been used to staple this shirt to the wooden backboard. And I was cringing as I was taking it out. But I needed to know whether it was a match-worn shirt, what it was. As you can tell here, I like to be able to sort of look at my collection. I like to be able to feel it, look at all the differences. And through a frame, I wasn't going to be able to achieve that. So I took a risk, and I'm so glad that I did. It has damaged the shirt ever so slightly because of how it's being framed. But there won't be many of these that are out of a frame. So for me to be able to sort of have one and to be able to show it on a video, to be able to take pictures of it, but mostly to be able to physically enjoy its presence, its touch, its feel, and actually be able to study it is something that I'm, you know, really, really, really proud of. So I'm quite glad that I was brave enough to do that. So yeah, that's been the 1997 silk cut plate final shirt. Hope you've enjoyed sort of having a little tour around this shirt. As I say, it's not something that crops up every day. You could be collecting for 30 years and still not come across something as sort of as special and as momentous as this in terms of success in the club's history. Obviously, you think about Wembley 1980. Granted, those shirts will just be, if any of them are still around, they'll be attached to a player or a family member of a player, and they're going absolutely nowhere. So for me to be able to get something as special as this, I am incredibly proud of. And obviously now we've passed episode 90, and you know, a while ago I did tease about having something special for episode 100, and that is going to be the case. I do have something really special for episode 100, but I'd also like to think that I've got something special for episode 90. There's also 2 more shirts. So episode 90, episode 100, there'll also be 2 more episodes between now and episode 100, where it's going to feature 2 shirts that are both from an era that was very successful for Hull KR in the late 70s and in the early 80s. So you've got them to look forward to. Thank you very much for checking out episode 90 of Talking Shirts. Please keep coming back, keep watching. I hope you enjoy watching them as much as I do making them. If you've got any questions, feel free just to fire me across on social media. I'm quite happy to talk shirts with anybody. I love it. Thanks for watching. Take care and bye for now.